Hey rat bags, today I'm going to be talking about what's next for Grounded, potentially anyway. It was a big surprise getting the infected broodmother. No one had seen that coming. There was no leaks, there was no references, there was no inkling that that would ever be a thing that got added to Grounded. And of course we had the Was Queen added. Now that was maybe a little bit more leaked. I told you guys ages ago that would be coming. Then I said they wouldn't. That's because the devs explicitly told me they wouldn't be, and everyone else. And then they surprised us all. So the bets are off. All previous leaks, as far as I'm concerned, could be on the table. Stuff that we've been told was from the developer world that may or may not ever come. Now I think there's a good chance a lot of that will. It's going to be tweaked. We've seen from the way that the Brawny Boy box, or the Brawny Boy box, got changed from what it originally was in the shed. It's going to be very different, maybe extra features, new stuff coming. When is that stuff going to come? I think we're going to get a big update in the summer. Previously I said we'd probably get another hotfix, but it is going to be the anniversary of Grounded hitting early access. And of course their full release is going to be in September. So not too far off if it isn't a big update. They're definitely going to have something large and big to celebrate that. But today we're talking about bosses. What one do you want to see next? The two main contenders are the Lizard and the Queen Ant. As you can see, like right there, was it right there? That their poll that I put out a couple of days ago, overwhelmingly 69% of you want to see an actual lizard boss added to the game. Now, if this is all new to you and you're wondering why I'm just talking about a lizard boss or a queen ant or ant queen boss, because they are the only bosses or creatures we've seen previously, models, actual shots in game, all from the leaked dev world that appeared a while ago and through various other means. Sure, the devs might decide to go and add a different boss completely, just like they did with the infected broodmother. It seems pretty obvious to me now, since we've got every other kind of infected creature, surely we're going to get maybe an infected Black Widow in the future? But right now, in terms of progression, there's a lot of signs that point that actually it's going to be either a lizard or it's going to be the Ant Queen. Only 31% of you want the Ant Queen, and I guess it's because we've seen so many styles of ants. We've seen the soldiers, we've seen the regular ones, the fire ants, the black ants, whereas a lizard is kind of really unique creature. So I asked a couple of the rat bags that have helped me out in the past, namely Spicy, you've seen me and him talk about stuff before, and Apex Predator that's shown me a bunch of stuff as well. This is the summoning item for, apparently, the lizard. Now you can bet this has changed because originally the one was changed as well. You can see it is obviously a charcoal piece with possibly some fire ant eggs wrapped in either a clover leaf, I'm guessing, or something along them lines. And then the Ant Queen's kind of a cannelloni. We're debating whether or not this would be maybe fire ant parts. I think this is quartzite parts mixed in with maybe tough gunk and some sort of shell. Don't want to say roly-poly, maybe black ox, but you get the idea. Of course, on top of all that, we have got the drops and the items that may still yet arrive. We saw from some of the wasp armor, it looks exactly like the leaks that we showed or didn't show you before full release. So this is pretty much the lizard helm, the lizard shin pads, the chest piece, which I think looks pretty cool. That looks to me like it might be some scales from the lizard itself. Future Jade here pointing out that maybe actually it was the scaly parts, the hard ridge parts that you see on a lizard, rather than just the actual scales itself, because we're going to see scales in a second. But this was a two-handed weapon, a two-handed spear, and this might be more of a harder shell, or maybe it's to do with the lizard's teeth or fangs, and clearly this is the tail of a lizard. Now some other images as part of this, and this is the earwig sword, and again this is stuff I've shown off ages ago, way before full release. We knew that there was working on an earwig. I told you guys that earwigs and silverfish would arrive, but they never did for 1.0, which I was surprised with. And there's the actual earwig pieces themselves, I'm guessing. The Spicy's shown all this stuff off. And if we take a deeper look now at the ant stuff, well, the Ant Queen did have its own armor as well. Pretty unique headgear, and again we showed all this off. This was in the game files before, we just hadn't actually ever seen any of the models or any actual gameplay. And again, shin pads, a piece of maybe the Queen Ant and the Queen Ant's head. So just like the Was Queen, the Mantis Queen, they've all pretty much got heads that you basically keep as trophies. This, I do believe, was meant to be maybe the pheromone or possibly some sort of gland from the ant. You can see it's used quite a bit. More excitingly is a one-handed wand. This looked to be a bit shorter, and again we saw lots of these from the leak files, which I'll show you in a second. This picture's really nice close up, and this was all pulled recently from the files. And you can see the summoning item for it once more. So that's kind of what we got to go on in terms of what boss could come next. According to Apex, the lizard was harder to defeat than the ant queen. So that means technically we might see the ant queen come first and then the lizard eventually, if they don't decide to change it. And remember, take all of this with a pinch of salt. It's not guaranteed that any of this will actually ever appear. But like I said, since we have now seen WOS and so much more come out, I think it's a safe bet to see we're going to see this content arrive. It looks like they had a placeholder for the Queen Ant summon. Apparently it was way too simple. It was only a red ant head, a black ant head and some thistle. And for the lizard, originally they were going to have it as a nachos meal, brood chunk and a mantis chunk. So the lizard would have been a boss that you could only fight or will fight once you defeated the brood mother and the mantis. Of course, now we've had the WOS queen added into it. I wouldn't be surprised if some of that recipe changes for that. That's the other thing with a lot of this stuff. A lot of the bosses are optional. So the devs can add them. I've seen a couple of complaints from people saying, oh, this game wasn't finished. Why are they adding stuff now? You got to be some sort of idiot not to realise the progression of the game is perfectly fine as it was with 1.0. We had like a prelude boss, we rescued Wendell, and yes, I'm going to go into spoilers obviously because this is a good few months after release now. You take on Schmector again as an optional to get the best ending. After that, the Mantis, the Brood Mother, the WOS Queen and the Infected Brood Mother, they're all optional. You don't actually have to take them on to complete the game. If you do want to get 100% score, yes, maybe. But to get a whole bunch of achievements and see the ending story, you just don't need to take part in them boss fights. I imagine it will be the same for these. We don't have any gameplay for the actual ant itself, the Queen Ant. We have seen maybe some screenshots leaked in the past of it basically just sitting in its burrow. But we do know from some of its actions, which I first reported on, telling you guys some of the attacks the Ant Queen would do, what it could potentially be doing. Likewise with the lizard, Apex or Spicy reached in and saw some of the attacks that it's meant to be doing. Effectively, this lizard would maybe be found underneath the sandbox. That's the cohesive thinking behind things. We have got to factor in there was meant to be a paid DLC or some sort of DLC labelled in a folder called Arena or some different way that they would have added it in. But yeah, the general consensus is that if a boss like this gets added, it will or it should be underneath the actual sandbox. And it's pretty fleshed out. Obviously it's moving pretty derpy, but it's got lots of animations for its facial work, and we've shown this off before in previous videos. It was also meant to summon some ant lions. It would burrow into the ground, and while it burrowed, the ant lions would pop up. It also had a ground stomp attack as well. According to Apex, the Fire Ant Queen was a cut boss in the leaked developer world. It was found in the Fire Ant Hill. It would summon fireworker ants to aid it, and also had a cut armor set. Supposedly it was meant to be fought after the Mantis in progression. So a lot of this stuff you can actually find on the wiki in the cut content page now. I do believe the wiki boys, with the help of these guys as well, all pitching together, they do update a lot of this stuff now. According to the rest of the wiki, the Queen Ant boss would have spat acid at you as it got closer. It wouldn't have moved, it would have stayed in the hole and would have just summoned minions to maybe fight you. Firing lobbying acid shots at you as well. A rock would fall once you killed it, so if you did want to fight it again, you could potentially keep fighting it over and over, just like you can with some of the other bosses. As I said, we don't really have any gameplay. I do believe a few of the Brazilian content creators out there might have had some access to it, but I've never seen actual footage of the Fire Ant Queen. I've only ever seen these kind of screenshots. And likewise, I'm pretty sure Apex got some of these shots himself, so you can see its health is definitely a lot shorter, smaller than a lizard. Now, way back when in the files, it did seem to suggest that black ants would be summoned, black ant soldiers. But it looks like they've been changed to what you would expect it to be, which would be a fire ant. Although again, you can see it says red soldier ant on top of the screen there. So they hadn't actually labelled it properly anyway. If they do have a fire ant queen, then it does raise the possibility, why haven't we got the others? Where's the black ant queen? Where's a red ant queen? It kind of would be a bit off if they only go ahead and add one of these, but not the others. So I could see why maybe they really did decide we're not going to have the red ant or the fire ant queen come into the game. Because then it would just become too boring having 3 fights exactly the same. If you did add all 3, you'd have to really do a lot of work to make them different or just harder. And then what are they unlocking? Each individual ant queen, what could they potentially be giving you? It would upset maybe progression way too much. So really the red ant hole, that's not somewhere that you really can add something else to it now. It is part of progression where you go through, you get your first burgle chip, one of the missions, you pick up all that B armor. It just wouldn't really make sense to have a soldier fight there. Likewise with the black ant, although there is that weird mushroom cave that's only got a golden milk molar in it. For ages I've always believed that would lead to something else or something different. But again, they've already got a boss in that area once you get through to the assistant manager. And then the fire ant, it makes the most sense just to have the fire ant queen. But yeah, people would then wonder, they'd have to come up with some sort of lore that explains what happened to the other queens. So that's pretty much what I can gather with the help of Apex and Spicy, aka Invite. I may have mixed a few bits and bobs up because it's hard to keep track of some of this stuff over the years of me showing you all the leaks and different stuff. But I love this kind of stuff. I like speculating and hypothesizing, and obviously you guys do, judging by the amount of views that you actually watch this stuff. So let me know, do you think we are going to see finally a fire ant queen? Are we going to see the lizard? If anything happens, it's probably going to be July. That's when Grounded obviously came out of early access or into early access released. They did have a demo that went live on the 16th of June, but as it was only a demo release date, it does seem a bit far-fetched. They'll be celebrating that massively. But there is going to be an Xbox showcase coming up on the 8th or 10th of June, which I'll be going and giving you the rundown over. That'll probably be on my main channel though, so make sure you subscribe to JPG for other survival games news and games. But I think we're going to see a reveal, a teaser or something at that show. I'll be pretty disappointed if there isn't anything. It has still only been about 6 weeks since we had obviously the actual drop or the updates for the Super Duper update. But with their cadence of doing it every sort of 3 to 4 months now, if they had a teaser for maybe the PTB to come out in the end of June, a couple of weeks testing it so that by time middle July or the actual anniversary of it actually going live as an early access game, we could see another boss or another big update added. It might be a smaller one, like I said, and it might end up being September that we actually see the big 2.0 Grounded update that adds maybe both bosses together. The last bit of speculation to add to that, of course, though, we do know that fireworks are incoming as well, as these have only been recently added, the animations for them and the projectiles. I showed this off a little while ago. So my theory has always been that this would approach the 4th of July, maybe celebrations, and that would tie in also with, yes, the releasing of Grounded into early access. We are due some sort of event. We saw obviously with the holiday treat, we got a tree and we've had the May sign set. So I'm guessing we're going to get something like that for June, and then July will actually be the fireworks. Given that we got so much as a surprise in Super Duper update and shut up so many of the negative Nellies around, I don't really want to say I don't think we're going to see this or that. I'm just happy we get anything, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure we are going to get lots of content coming. I have still got my Grounded Cut content channel as well, with all sorts of stuff that was never actually put out in the game or was shown off much a long time ago. I ended up making it private because people were kind of just asking random questions in it rather than actually adding to it, and because we'd seen everything that had been cut. But you know what, I'm going to make it live so everyone can see it again. So if you want to scroll through, have a look at all this, then make sure you come and join my Discord. We've got some pretty good people here in my Discord as well as the official one to talk about some of this stuff. I guess the last thing that I've not really addressed too much is the scepter. Given we've got sour damage, we've got spicy damage, and we've got fresh, you would think this would have some sort of salt property wrapped in possibly obviously the earwigs. We also know how, and don't forget how things change. There was meant to be a tier 3 bomb. This is it. I think Mudders Chudders has been showing it off again lately, but we showed it off a long time ago. With the brand new Moldy Blaster though, we can see how that's evolved. Why make just another tier 3 bomb? Why not make it an actual weapon that you can hold and use? So that's why you got to remember, some of this stuff may change drastically, or it's just not ever coming, but so much of it I think will. Let me know what you want to do a deeper dive on in future. There's still a lot of stuff that we've never really gone over since 1.0. And to celebrate the Grounded demo release, I am going to be doing a step back in time, revisiting all the different stages that Grounded came out to show you guys what it was like playing each one of the major updates. So until next time, thanks a lot to Spicy and Apex. I'll see you rat bags later.